8 grocery products that will become impossible to find this fall and winter. There's a reason Depression-era recipes are trending again. Middle-class Americans discovered something odd. The foods they were so used to seeing in stores are now disappearing. In the last few months of 2023, it's extremely obvious we have a problem with our food supply. We're now seeing an unprecedented number of threats to food security, which continue to pop up left and right, affecting people all across the globe. These include things like political conflicts, economic changes, disease, and, more often than not, variable weather patterns. Let's discuss the 8 grocery products that will become impossible to find this fall and winter. Number 1. Fish and seafood. In early March, West Coast regulators announced that they may recommend a ban on salmon fishing this year. It would be only the second time salmon fishing season has been canceled in California. The looming ban comes as the West sees a massive decline in fish populations following a blistering, multi-year drought that drained reservoirs and dehydrated much of the land. We're also seeing coral reefs undergoing bleaching events at alarming frequencies. These reefs served as breeding and feeding grounds for numerous sea creatures, and their deterioration is actually a terrible thing for marine biodiversity. If the current trajectory of fishing practices and environmental changes persists, the seafood aisles and markets will soon start to look sparse, with some favorite varieties either absent or prohibitively expensive. Number 2. Rice. A shortage of rice is still on the table into the second half of 2023. The world's rice supply has been ravaged by Russia's invasion of Ukraine, as well as damaging weather in major rice-producing countries like China and Pakistan. And now, even more concerning factors are at play. El Niño, a weather pattern that results in a typical warming of the water's surface in the eastern Pacific Ocean, began to emerge again at the beginning of the summer, causing even more variable weather for many countries. India also announced in July that it would halt its exports of all non-basmati white rice in order to protect its own stockpile and resources. Some areas of the world have felt these effects more than others, but for most, the largest issue will continue to be the damage to your wallet. Economists have reported that the most evident impact of the global rice deficit has been, and still is, decades-high rice prices. At one point this year, rice prices reached almost $18.50. Asian countries, where 90% of the world's rice is grown and eaten, are struggling with production. The Philippines was carefully managing water in anticipation of less rain amid the El Niño when Typhoon Doksuri battered its northern rice-producing region, damaging $32 million worth of rice crops, an estimated 22% of its annual production. The archipelago nation is the second largest importer of rice after China, and President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has underscored the need to ensure adequate buffers. Number 3. Pasta. Pasta is an affordable, comforting, shelf-stable favorite for households across the country. However, if you haven't started to see it already, the pasta aisle at your grocery store may be looking a little bare. Pasta, like bread, cookies, and cereals, are made of wheat. A shortage in wheat means a shortage in all of these goods and a rise in prices. According to the Consumer Price Index, in the U.S., the cost of bread rose 15.7%. Cereal and baked goods shot up 16.4%, and flour prices soared a whopping 24.9%. The skyrocketing price of pasta is a perfect case study in what drives inflation, involving rising commodity costs, rocky supply chains, and accusations of excessive corporate profit-taking. The elevated retail prices are owed to the fact that producers are now selling their pasta stocks, which were made when the raw material costs were higher. Experts have cited higher wheat and energy prices for the price hikes. Number 4, coffee. After the United States Department of Agriculture forecasted that coffee production in Brazil will meet a deficit in 2023, coffee business owners are now eyeing other coffee producer countries. On the other hand, the situations in the top coffee producer countries are reversed from what is expected. The domestic coffee market in Brazil, the biggest coffee producer in the world, is heated up due to limited supply and rising prices. Even the experts are only able to mention 3 million coffee bags when asked about the highest prediction for coffee production. While the total coffee production in Vietnam is reported to decrease, their coffee stock has also been affected. Du Ha Nam, the vice chairman of the Vietnam Coffee and Cocoa Association, stated that the total coffee production is forecasted to significantly drop. The total coffee production dropped by 10 to 15% year on year. This situation is getting worse after Vietnam is reported to have no green coffee bean stock left to be exported this season. FDA further mentioned that Indonesia will experience a decline in terms of coffee production. After the excessive rainfall disrupted the coffee plant's growing process, this country is expected to supply only 9.7 million bags of coffee, a drop of 18% from the previous year. Based on this projection, many in the coffee industry will be directly affected by the high price of green coffee beans caused by the low supply. Number 5, olive oil. There are several reasons why the price of olive oil is about to go up. If you haven't been following the news, during the summer of 2022, droughts and heat waves hit several olive oil producing regions across Europe. This led to a suboptimal harvest season. A lower supply ultimately means a higher cost. Another reason why the price of olive oil is rising is that, in addition to smaller harvests in Spain and Italy, there has been a decrease in the supply of sunflower oil due to the conflict in Ukraine. It turns out that it produces half the world's sunflower oil supply. So the price of all vegetable oils will continue to rise. Whether you make your own salad dressing, dip bread, or enjoy pasta, olive oil is liquid gold. Many of us probably can't get through a week or even a day without consuming it. But unfortunately, just like most pantry staples, whether you prefer extra virgin, organic, or conventional olive oil, it's becoming more and more expensive. Considering that the average price of Italian virgin olive oil has already increased by 27% in the past 2 years, the situation doesn't look like it's going to improve anytime soon. Number 6, honey. America's honeybee hives just staggered through the second highest death rate on record, with beekeepers losing nearly half of their managed colonies. But using costly and Herculean measures to create new colonies, beekeepers are somehow keeping afloat. Honeybees are crucial to the food supply, pollinating more than 100 of the crops we eat, including nuts, vegetables, berries, citrus, and melons. Scientists said a combination of parasites, pesticides, starvation, and weather change keep causing large die-offs. We all wish we could have an endless supply of honey, but the amount of honey produced in the United States has been declining. This may come as a surprise given honey's increasing popularity. Honey proves to be a perfect processed sugar replacement, since it's naturally sweet and adds vitamins and enzymes to your dishes. Honey also pairs wonderfully with so many different types of food, making it a must-have in every kitchen. More and more people are discovering how great raw and unfiltered honey is every day, so consumption is steadily rising. But the amount produced in the U.S. is still declining, and the trend continues. In fact, honey production is down 49% in the last 20 years. Number 7, beef. Ranchers in the U.S. are now in panic mode and selling off their cattle at an unprecedented pace as a result of the terrible drought, which is completely ruining ranching there. Some farmers even decide to sell off their whole herds because they believe they have no other choice. The meat industry forecast for 2023 predicts a significant decrease in the supply of beef, leading to higher prices for everyone. Reports estimate that, on average, Americans will eat 5.6% less beef this year due to shortages. If you don't want to eat less meat, then securing your supply now is crucial. When the supply dropped 4% in 2003, meat prices advanced nearly 25%. Similar to the situation in 2011, a 3.9% decline in supplies led to a 20% price increase. And in 2014, a 3.8% decline contributed to a 23% price jump. We could be looking at a similar 20% price hike for beef in 2023. Another factor contributing to the shortage is the increasing demand for meat in developing countries, particularly in Asia. As these countries become wealthier, their citizens are consuming more meat, leading to a higher demand for it globally. This increased demand has led to record beef exports from the U.S. to Asia, which causes us to further depend on imported meat to fill the gap in our own stores and meals. The situation is further complicated by environmental policy changes. Netherlands and New Zealand are actively discouraging ranching and raising livestock in general. Many countries are implementing policies aimed at reducing the impact of meat production and therefore reducing the supply of meat and hurting the global economy and food supply in the process. There will be a shortage in the general supply of meat, but the availability of quality meat will greatly shrink too. High-quality cuts are said to become more scarce in 2023. Prime and choice beef options will not always be available, and if they are, you'll pay an even bigger premium on them than the other grades of beef. Consumers will have to make difficult decisions about the types of meat they consume and how much they are willing to pay for it this year. For those on a tight budget, this could mean eating less meat or opting for cheaper, less desirable cuts if they rely on their local grocer entirely. Number 8. Vanilla. The world's most popular flavor, vanilla, is also teetering on the edge of extinction. The utility of vanilla extends across a vast domain, encompassing its use in dairy products, beverages, baked goods, confections, and frequently serving as a background note or flavor enhancer in various food products. In a coordinated global effort of cultivation, the biggest producer of vanilla is Madagascar, followed by Indonesia, China, and Mexico. The Sava district in Madagascar is by far the most important vanilla-producing region in the world. The shadow of extinction is drawing near, with weather changes such as global heating, frequent tropical cyclones, and intense drought, putting harvest at great risk. Furthermore, the district of Sava grapples not only with the weather crisis, economic hardship, and social inequality, but also contends with the ominous security issues, factors that further imperil this spices industry. In total, 20 countries have imposed export restrictions on major food commodities, according to the World Bank's latest food security update in July 2023. Afghanistan has banned the export of wheat, Bangladesh of rice, and Cameroon of vegetable oil and cereals, while countries such as Russia and Uganda have imposed export taxes on some products like sunflower oil, wheat, barley, maize, and rice. Comment down below on what you think, and leave a like if you find value in the content we do on this channel. Hit the subscribe button for all the latest updates, and we'll see you in the next video.